my first big experience of really doing something which was outside of the society's norm is when I started to do what is called as pickup. Right? To go onto the street, to go into clubs with the conscious intention to talk to women, to flirt with them, and to get connected, and to eventually find my girlfriend, which was always my goal with it, that I could be the perfect version of myself, comfortable with myself when I would approach a woman that in my perspective would be a 10 out of 10, that I would find very beautiful, attractive, funny, interesting, intelligent, all these things that I found important. And at the first time when I walked into the street, I was living in Scheveningen, so near the beach in the Netherlands. Yeah. And I went to the boulevard, and there was a girl walking there, and that was my first experience. Now I was like, okay, I'm really gonna try this. I had seen this in this community, in this forum that I was following, that they would do what is called day game, which means you go onto the streets during the day and you just talk to women there. And so I saw this girl, and I mustered up all the courage I could to just speak to her. Ended up walking up to her and saying, like, uncomfortably a little bit, of course, because I was so nervous, like, hey, yeah, I just saw you, I wanted to say hi, and I think you're cute. You know what she said? She said, I'm not sure what you think you're doing, but I'm like 15 years old, and my mom and my dad are walking here behind me, so yeah, I don't think this is the right thing, what you're doing. Yeah. I needed time to recover from that one. Right. I finally mustered up the strength to not believe that I would be rejected and that I should just do this. And then I get this 15-year-old confident girl just like breaking me down. Yeah. Pooh, man.
What age were you at that moment?
I was 19, so it was not that much of a difference, but she didn't look 15, and I already then had the idea that you can't talk to a 15-year-old girl, like it's too young. Yeah. But she didn't look 15 at all, right? But that's often with the girls nowadays, with all the makeup they wear, that you're like, what? You're 50? You look fucking 30. Like, how do you... No, but that was definitely an intense experience where I needed a couple of days to get over, but it was only a couple of days because I was so in this community, and I met this guy, Rick, and... he came to my place, and we also went out together to do this on the street, but also at night in a club without drinking anything, right? That's the goal, because if you drink, you get this fake level of confidence, and that was not, that doesn't maintain, that doesn't sustain. When I met him and we went out to this beach club as well, he just went out. Like, we walked into the club, he went right away, talked to first girl, got rejected, walked away to the next one, got rejected. And I just got so bamboozled. I was like, wow, that's really amazing. Wow, it's really amazing that you're just doing that. Like, he gets rejected, he doesn't care, he just moves on to the next one. And he had spoken to 10 girls before I even started. I was just like, okay, I can't stay behind right now, I need to do this as well. So it was the group identity that getting out of sight of your comfort zone and getting rejected is a cool thing. And I think that's what I really loved about this community, that besides Rick, also the other guys that I met and that I went out with, is that there is this kind of narrative, especially in younger boys, where they kind of challenge and they banter with each other, and they make each other sometimes look small, which is often also a sign of their own insecurity. And it happens a lot when it comes to women. So when you see a guy approach a girl and he gets rejected, what does a lot of friends do when the guy walks back to them? They're like, you stupid, you thought you could seduce her, you idiot, yeah, you're such an ugly guy, and like banter, right? Like the sometimes funny, but often just a reflection of their own insecurity. And
so that projection,
really, yeah. And that was just such a shift with this community of guys, where as soon as you walked up to a girl, no matter what the reaction was, if you got rejected, you walked back, you got a high five, and there was like celebration energy. And so it became this like inclusive part, to be part of this group of guys that were just all so amazingly happy to do something that was so scary at first, but then, you know, after a while it just became more and more comfortable. And Rick at one point invited me to do this 30-day challenge where we would go out every single day, either in the evening in the club or during the day on the streets, or sometimes even both, and we just talk to girls. And it just changed my life, because I started noticing how this ego has this constant conversation going on. And sometimes, even if I did it a couple days in a row, the first conversation on the next day would still like be like this, oh yeah, I have to start it up again. But then one conversation in or two conversations, even if there were rejections, it's like, oh yeah, rejection doesn't kill you. It's all good. And sometimes we would, even as a practice, when we would feel a little bit uncomfortable or stifled, as they call it, we would sit on the middle of the street, or we would lay down in a busy city center, lay down in the middle of the street in order for you to feel, okay, if I'm laying down here, what are people gonna say? What are people gonna think? You know, oh my God, people are gonna have to walk around me now, and they're gonna think, why is this guy laying on the street? Like, is he crazy? Is he a homeless guy? Or whatever, all these thoughts that come up, you lay on that street and you just see people pass by. Most people don't even notice you, first of all. Other people, you just see them looking at for a second and then just move on. They just move on to their thing and you just lay there. I did even a video about this, and there's one point you see even in the video a police guy standing there looking at me, and you're like, oh, a police guy, he probably say something because that's probably not allowed or something like that. No, he just looks at me and then he moves on, you know? It's like, and that gives then that feeling of relief of like, oh, I'm actually not in danger. I'm actually okay. Well, if I'm actually okay, why don't I just express everything that comes into my mind that I want to express that has a positive impact on the world? Why don't I just give a high five to this random guy that I see? Why don't I tell this girl that I find her attractive if I see her? It's just such a freeing experience.
Yeah, was that like the a life event that really changed your perception on how to get along with those situations that you mentioned before? Was that the moment that really changed your life in some way?
Well, I guess it's the moment that I break through that again, right? It's that moment that it hits me and I feel the discomfort and I feel a little bit like, oof, okay, that was intense. But then after a couple of days deciding, you know what, I'm not going to take that as my reality.
Yeah.
And I'm going to break through that and then start having experiences that are positive, that are showing me like, see, I was actually doing something amazing. I'm on the right track. I can be myself. I can talk to women on the street. And then that like breaking through indeed created a new personality of I am someone who is able to just do things that I seem to think are impossible before. And to make that even into more perspective, the reason I started doing this is because my mom passed away when I was 9. And then I basically had 10 years where I became more and more introverted because as a coping mechanism, I started playing a lot of video games. I only hung out with like these other guys that were playing video games and didn't see a lot of girls, didn't go to a lot of parties. I felt uncomfortable. Not with all girls, but especially with the girls that I found attractive, then I would just get uncomfortable. I would get awkward. And then at 14, you know, I remember seeing a James Bond movie thinking like, if I can do what James Bond can do, then, you know, my life would be complete, but I'll never be able to do that. That's impossible. That's impossible. And then at 19, after a year of seriously talking to over 1,000 women, like this was a practice. This was a fucking practice and a constant getting out of my comfort zone. After about a year, I found myself going with 4 of those guys to Budapest, where our sole purpose was to talk to women for 4 or 5 days straight. We even wrote down goals of what kind of things we want to kind of break through, what kind of patterns, what kind of fears. We made some agreements that if we're walking together on the street and I see you look at a girl for longer than 2 seconds and you're not approaching her, I get to slap you on your arm. I get to give you a hit and you have to go anyways. So there was this masculine accountability, challenging each other, of course, and at the same time, this positive environment of celebrating the action, not the result, right? Mm-hmm. That's the important thing. We were celebrating each other's actions, not the result. And then I just noticed how doing that in Budapest 4 days in a row, every single day during the day, and then at night in the club, and then, you know, going to sleep maybe at like 4 or 5 a.m., waking up at 12 and doing it all over again, it changed something. I became like, I used to express it as like, I became like a Super Saiyan, like from Dragon Ball Z. I felt stronger, I felt confident. And then on the 3rd day, I was even, after 10 minutes of talking to a girl on the street, I kissed her and she allowed it. And she was even excited about it. Like it broke, like in that moment, it was just obvious. And I felt so confident that I just did what I felt. But then, of course, afterwards, I was thinking, that's crazy. I actually just, I only know her for 10 minutes and she let me kiss her on the mouth? What the fuck? Like, it broke so many of my patterns and programs that I used to have.
Uh-huh.
And then on the 3rd night, or the 4th night, I'm not sure, one of those two, I was in a bar and I was talking to a girl together with a friend of mine who was talking to her friend. But at one point I told my friend, I'm like, hey, I don't feel like I'm feeling such a click with this girl. And I'm feeling incredibly confident. I have the feeling like I'm in this James Bond vibe. I look to a girl and she laughs, like, and she's like, eh, you know, like she gets all giggly. I'm like, I'm feeling so good. We even looked at our pupils and they even looked dilated as if we used drugs. Like it was that high of a state whilst we were not using anything. And I tell my friend like, hey, what if we just go around in this club and we really look for the most beautiful girls, like those absolute model beautiful that you're like, oh, okay, that still created a little bit of nervousness when I think about approaching them. But let's do that. Let's really just go for it. And so I was walking around for about 10 minutes and then I just saw a girl, and without any thought or anything like that, because having talked to so many girls gets you out of your head as well, right? Gets you into your body, gets you into the moment. So there was no thought anymore. There wasn't so much. There was just a moment. And that moment was I saw her and I didn't need to think. I saw her dancing. I grabbed her arm. I looked her in the eye and I said, I've been looking for the most beautiful girl in the club and I just found her. And you know how she responded? She laughed. She was like, ha, oh, that's such a bad pickup line. But I meant it. And I was also not shocked by her thinking it was a pickup line because I was feeling so confident. So I kept on looking at her in the eyes and I was like, well, I mean it. And then she felt that energy and we had this amazing night. We're dancing and we're connecting. I felt my heart opening and opening and opening. And then at one point she needed to go to the toilet and it was like 15 minutes that she was on the toilet. And I'm like, I felt such a connection to her. I got even a little bit scared that she like found an exit through the other side of the toilet or something because it took so long. And I was like, oh, did I lose her or something like that? And luckily she came back out. And then we had this beautiful evening. We connected so well. And at the end of the evening, I even said, like, I really want to see you again. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow or the day after tomorrow back to the Netherlands, but I want to see you again. I want to come. And I ended up having a 4-year relationship with this beautiful woman that was a actress, playing in a lot of beautiful musicals like The Beauty and the Beast, as the Beauty, of course. Yeah. What a beautiful relationship I had. And I had this moment of standing on her balcony and just she was inside and we had some music on. I was just standing on the balcony for a moment. I looked up and I was thinking, I've achieved it. This picture that I had as a 14-year-old boy, that I was able to just be that James Bond and attract a woman that I think is an absolute 10 out of 10 and be myself, be my confident self, and that she finds me attractive and that it works and that I can get a relationship with her. I'm here. I've achieved it. And that opened a new door. That opened the door of, but wait a second. If this is possible, what else is possible? And that started my journey as an entrepreneur and just creating stuff. Playing the playground called life, called Earth. Just creating stuff that I felt inspired to create. Not thinking too much about what other people would think about it. Sometimes, yes, of course, that thought could creep in again. But then I would have such a strong anchor point to fall back on of like, if I just continue doing it, if I continue practicing it, I will come to the same point. I did a year long. I spoke to over 1,000 women. I came to the point of attracting the woman that I had a beautiful 4-year relationship with. We ended up breaking up. And that's also perfectly fine because we needed to just go different ways. But it was perfect at that moment. And it just anchored in this I can do everything kind of mentality that allowed me to become an entrepreneur, to create many different businesses, to have financial success, but also to challenge myself on a physical level. To say like, okay, yeah, it's intense right now. I'm running as hard as I can and I'm just going to push myself through it because I know that afterwards I'll feel better and I'll achieve the goal that I want. And that makes me feel even better about myself. And man, it's powerful.
Wow. Damn. What a story, brother.